So now we have a second keynote delivered by Kari-Pekka Laaksonen, who is the CEO of Containerships. And Kari-Pekka, please take the podium.
Okay, thank you and good morning everybody. I'm also very pleased to be here today, and I'm very actually happy that I have a chance to explain our approach to this issue and what have been the reasons and what has been the thinking behind of us entering more and more into the gas, and what is the let's say the roadmap for us also from now on to the future. I will not probably discuss too much about the technical issues. I'd like to, let's say, give a little bit about or have a focus on commercial issues and the business rationality of us doing this thing, and what do the let's say the stakeholders and how do the stakeholders actually have affected on us and on making these kind of decisions. So if you have any technical questions regarding our projects, I have my colleague here today, which is Kati, so she will know everything about it, and so she will be the one to fill you in with all those details. In a short, Containerships, we operate in short sea business. We operate in two different and separate regions. One up in the north, which is the Baltic Sea and North Sea area, and down in the Mediterranean. Our business in North is about 85–90% of the whole top line, and the Mediterranean business is 10–15% of the whole portfolio. Just gives you the picture of and the size of the businesses. Up in North, we operate currently 9 vessels, which of them are 5 equipped with a scrubber and 4 we consume with the MGO. Down in Mediterranean we have 4 vessels at the moment. We are in 21 different locations and in 14 different countries, and also have started to now enter to the North African countries. We opened up this year our first office in Algeria, and are planning to open the second office in North Africa in Tunisia during the first quarter of the next year. The environmental challenge, I guess it is our obligation and it is our right, to do something about it, and it's a issue that we have been now obviously thinking a lot since there has been the change in the regulation in 2015, and also already a couple of years before that, and we always tend to think that are we the ones who are making the changes without the regulations or not, or how much do the regulations actually affect on our thinking, and also to find the solution. For us, obviously, the sulfur emission regulation was something that we just had to deal with it. We had a solution for that, to change the fuel to the MGO, and then also install scrubbers on the vessel. But at the same time, it really triggered and boosted us to consider that, is this something that we would be happy for the future? Is this something that we are really satisfied for us as a company to provide a solution for the future? And obviously then quite quickly or shortly after entering this kind of discussion and thinking, it's very easy to answer to ourselves that it's not something that we are pleased that if we can just, let's say, comply with the sulfur emissions, because there are so many other things in pipeline which we should be also tackling than just the sulfur emissions. And that's why we have actually gone into this project, which we are calling like a future-proof solution, and then getting more into the LNG. And obviously for us as a company, it is a very important what is our solution, since you can see that 85–90% of our business is actually under the SECA area currently already. So we went through these similar alternatives, I guess, very traditional development and in thinking and going from the heavy fuel to the scrubbers and then to the marine gas oil and then entering to more let's say, long-term solutions. And I can say that we are currently operating all these three solutions on the left at the moment, since we have already trucks which are now converted into the LNG. So we already have a, let's say, a little bit, let's say, information about the LNG even within our operations. And we are already testing some of our trucks in the Western Europe currently, where we could also start using some alternative fuels. So we have been actually quite open with all different alternatives and have been testing all of them, and to understand what is the most suitable and feasible solution for us as a company. Then why did we then go for an LNG? Clearly, I think it was actually shown already on the previous presentation, the emission reduction on different things. That's absolutely important thing for us. Second part, we have been really encouraged by our customers. We actually serve today a quite large amount of consumer product companies who are more and more positively pressurizing us to get into more decarbonization on the supply chains. And this was also one of the first findings what we had in our LNG project, that when we discussed about the sulfur issue and sulfur emission issues with our customers like Procter & Gamble or Danone or IKEA or Mars, and presented our solution that this is how we would tackle it, and they weren't really that interested, or they were not really that, let's say, convinced on our solutions, because they only knew that it will cost us more, so it will make more difficult for us to keep competitive in the market, and also that this sulfur emission issue for the industries like them, they had already, let's say, solved this issue 2-3 decades ago. So it was just something that, please come up with something else. And then after a little while, when we had another meetings with these people, and we actually sat down and told them that we will not only solve these issues by introducing the scrubbers or changing the fuel to the MGO, but we would actually start investing on building the LNG. You could immediately see the kind of a change in spirit and change in the atmosphere of talking to these customers. And then they started immediately invite you on different projects, and on land side, on the sea side, and to start brainstorming together what could we do together in order to reduce especially CO2 emissions. They are so heavily committed, from their point of view, to reduce their CO2 emissions on their production processes and also on their supply chain, so that they were really more than welcoming us on these projects. Though they're still not paying any premium on it, even if you introduce that's another issue. But at least there is a big will from their point of view to take this issue on different tables. And clearly, I must say that once we have come out to the public about our LNG project, and we have been approached by many companies to ask us to discuss about this issue, and none of these invitations had anything to do with the sulfur emission issues. It was really another reason, as I explained already. Of course, the second point, it has to have some financial benefits for the company as well. I mean, first part is very important but for us as a company, it's also very important that we can grow for tomorrow, and we can grow also profitable way, and that also then allowed us now to renew a little bit the fleet which we are operating. We can actually get a bit more modern design, get a better fuel consumption efficiency, and also in that way also improve our own efficiency within our operation. So of course there has to be some financial benefits for us as a company in order to go there. Third part is also a bit what kind of a role are you taking in this whole process? I think this whole change of decarbonization is inevitable. It will come through and it will go. Question is that, are you going to just follow this? Are you going to just comply on whatever has been given by the legislation, or are you going to do something on your own and together with your stakeholders? And we have decided to be quite active on this one. We have been, let's say, getting ourselves not only on the shipping or building the LNG vessels, but getting ourselves very heavily involved on the land LNG projects, which is a very important as a company who's providing the services to its customer, which is end-to-end, door-to-door. So we cannot go and face our customers and tell them that we have actually solved the big part of the emission problems, but only on the sea journey. And we are also then offering the land services for these companies as well. So that was, another quite a clear finding for us, that we need to provide the service for the full supply chain. And it's not only the vessel side, even though the vessel operations is obviously the big spend and it's a big part of our operation, but as a whole story, and then as, let's say, the DNA for the whole company, you need to also then prove that you can do it for the whole supply chain. And this is what we've been working very well. I'll show you some picture in a minute. Of course, it comes then to the point that when entering something which is fairly new, there's still a lot of things which are missing. When we ordered our first LNG truck to Finland, there was not even one refueling station in Finland, so we had to bring our own tank to the Vuosaari port in order to start even getting some kind of experience on running those trucks. In UK, we have now 40 trucks which we have converted to the LNG, and we have 10 trucks which are under the process to be converted on LNG. Yet there wasn't any refueling stations in the neighborhood where we operate in North UK, so we had to also set our own refueling station there. So being there as bit before than somebody else, it also requires some extra steps on it, but we decided to take those ones. And obviously on some parts of the Europe we already see quite a, let's say, good progress on the projects regarding the infrastructure. This is a little bit underlining you the reason why we went on the land side, as I explained to you, but our sea operations is about 42% of our top line. Our land operation is almost 40% of our top line. So when we are selling our services to our customers, even though the company is called Containerships, it is actually something else behind it a lot, and that is something what we needed to keep in our mind. And also when working with the companies like these ones, which are quite aware of their own, let's say, sustainability development, it's very important that you actually comply with these people rather than you comply with the legislation or the regulations which have been set to the geographic area where you operate in. Some milestones which we have done so far. Obviously, we have been compliant, SECA compliant since the day one. Next year will be the big year for us as a company, since we will be getting ourselves more and more into the LNG fuel supply chain, both on the vessel side, where we have 4 vessels being built now in China, all of them physically being built, and all of them are in operation during 2018 next year. I mentioned already about the truck conversion only in the UK. We have already had a discussion with some of the truck manufacturers that once they are introducing their trucks, that we are able to start replacing our current trucks within the LNG ones. Last week, the Iveco actually had their first introduction of the bigger LNG engine in the South Germany. The Volvo is actually introducing their newest similar size of engine of 100% LNG next month in Barcelona. So all these parts are also coming into the picture, but it is, really kind of being on the doorsteps of something, and you are always waiting on somebody else to do something, then they are waiting for you. So it is an interesting progress from that point of view. Obviously for us, has been very crucial that we have been able to sign the contract to to get the LNG for our vessels. The vessels will be, at the first stage, will be bunkered in Rotterdam. For us, it's also enough to have a one location within our operational area where we're bunkering, since our vessels are not going just between like Helsinki and Stockholm. So you don't need to have a bunkering on all of our terminals. All of our vessels are more on the butterfly, loops. We have 2-3 vessels on different loops, but all of those loops are always crossing on main hubs like Rotterdam. And since there is an availability of LNG in Rotterdam and the autonomy of those vessels is about 2 weeks, we are able to bunker all of those LNG vessels in the future, even within one location. This is actually the same way as we're doing today with the HFO, which we are bunkering in St. Petersburg at the moment. So it's not a new solution or operating model for us as a company. About the vessel construction project, it is going, as I said. Next summer, autumn will be according to timetable. It will be a very interesting time for us, and hopefully we are able to invite some of you also to see the launch and the opening of these vessels once they enter to these waters next year. So as a company, we are really targeting and aim not to just to comply with CETA, but we are really aiming to let's say work together with our customers and also to offer them the future-proof solution in the transportation area. Thank you very much. Any questions?